Is May 9th, 2024, and I've asked Member Little to offer a word of prayer, and then if you all rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Our dear kind Heavenly Father, we are grateful for thy blessings of this community that we get to be a part of. Thank thee for watching over us and keeping us safe, and we're grateful that we have these opportunities to discuss these matters today and what's going on in the community, and we pray for thy good guidance and direction always, and help us to come to the best conclusion that we can. And we say these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, thank you. We'd like to welcome everyone out. It's nice to see a good turnout. For your information, we have 3 agenda items that are being continued to our next meeting. It is a Be Well with Jill conditional use permit, a sign code text amendment, as well as a Stoddard area plan discussion. They will be at our meeting in 2 weeks on the 23rd. So after that, I'm ready for approval for the agenda. I have a motion by Member Bass,
I'll second it.
and a second by Member Little. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. And I forgot to mention, we'd like to welcome a new member to the Planning Commission. This is Matthew Bishop. He was appointed on Tuesday. He's representing the Mountain Green area, so welcome. Next is declaration of any conflicts of interest. Any on Planning Commission have a conflict with any item on the agenda? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on. Public comment. Now's the time for public to make address the Planning Commission. We have a couple of legislative items. These legislative items will have their own public hearing. So the Brown rezone, as well as the Planning Commission text amendment revision. So if you have a comment regarding those 2 agenda items, we request that you wait until that time of the public hearing to address those issues. But if you like to make a comment about any other item on the agenda, now would be the time, or any other comment you'd like to address the Planning Commission. If you come up to the lectern and state your name for the record.
And I was here to give my opinion about legislative number 12. But you said that's not going to be discussed tonight?
Number 12 is.
Number 12 is. That's the one about the Brown rezone.
Yeah, and that'll have its own public hearing. No, yeah, at that time. So if you have a comment, we'd ask that you would wait till that time.
So I don't understand, what time is that going to be?
When we get to
number 12?
Number 12,
Got it.
we'll just work down the list.
Okay, thank you.
Hopefully not too long. Any other comments? Okay, time to move on. We have agenda item number 6. This is the public meeting discussion of the Bright Start Preschool conditional use permit.
This is for a conditional use permit. It's application number 24.023 for the Bright Start Preschool CUP. This is for a home occupation. At the time that they started, it was a class 1. I believe they had 8 students. Since that time, with our discussions with the applicant, they have 2 classes of 8 students each. They only have 8 students on the site at any given time, which pushes it from a class 1 to a class 3. That class 3 requires the CUP. So one of the things they were told, my understanding was at the time that they signed up for the home occupation with Class 1, is that they'd have to re-sprinkle the house and do other things in order to have more children. I've spoken to fire myself. That is not the case. So if they want to have more children with a Class 3, they're able to get up to 16 at any one time, no more than 18 for the entire day. The fire department did say that if they exceed 8 at any given time, they'll need to do fire inspections once a year where they check the fire plugs, not fire plugs, but the wall plugs, and they'll check the furnace to make sure it's working. They'll have to, the fire department will check fire extinguishers. There'll have to be sleeping rooms if the kids take naps, and they'll have to have a map showing the exits of the house. That is all that the fire department would require to exceed. I know that there's some state requirements that they'd have to meet, but that doesn't fall in line with the county at all. Staff is recommending approval. We're not adding any stipulations to this. The plan that we've been told is that they are going to have 8 children on site at any given time, and they're going to keep the 2 classes. The chance to increase that is there, but we're not proposing any stipulations or additions to that. With that, staff is recommending approval of this conditional use permit, and I can answer any questions you may have. I do not know if the applicant is in the audience. I've never met them. Oh, yep, I guess they're here.
Any questions for staff?
On reference code 155.347, about what it takes to go from a 1 to a 3 or a 3 to a 1, whichever way it was. Besides the fire conditions, is there any other improvement to the house that needs to be made?
Not at all.
And then there was also a point about preschool versus daycare. This is just for my education. Was there anything really of a difference in
No.
whether it's classified one or the other?
As far as I can tell, our code identifies daycare, but the definition of daycare would include both.
Thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions? Have any questions for the applicant? Seeing none, any discussion among the planning commission? Not ready for a motion?
Madam Chair, I move we approve the Bright Star DUP application number 24.023, identified by serial number 01-LJ1-0001, parcel ID number 000556892, located at 1090 West Island Road. Is that correct? Is that correct? Okay. Based on the findings and the conditions listed in the staff report dated May 9th, 2024.
I have a motion by member Wilson. Do I have a second?
Second.
A second by member Bass. Any more discussion on that motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, agenda item number 7. This is Rhonda's Fresh Produce and Diamond D Beef Agribusiness Conditional Use Permit.
This is for application number 24.026 for Rhonda's Fresh Produce and Diamond D Beef Agribusiness.
It's just not clear on
Out of focus.
the screen.
The screen, it's out of focus on our,
Well, it's because we're trying to push something past you. Right? Just kidding. Hopefully Jeremy can fix that. Do you want me to wait, or?
Go ahead.
yeah,
Okay.
go ahead, we're,
About 6 weeks ago, the county commission approved a text amendment to the county code, which would allow for agribusinesses within a rural residential 1 acre minimum. The fresh produce and Diamond D Beef fruit stand with a freezer that allows for the sale of the meat is located in the RR1 section of their property. So the text amendment to change that was required. With that change, the proposed use requires a C2 conditional use permit, which is approval by the Planning Commission. with that approval, staff is adding a couple stipulations onto that with recommendation of approval. The first is that the shed needs to be moved 30 feet back from the property line to be outside of the front yard setback. Currently, it is within the front yard setback. And because of that, people that are pulling in and parking and using the fruit stand and the freezer to buy meat are parking in the right-of-way and the shoulder of the road. The agribusiness needs to provide parking on site. It doesn't have to be paved. It's an agricultural zone. But those areas where people can park just needs to be clearly identified so that people that pull in and want to use the shed for the fruit stand and the meat can park outside of the right-of-way. Time for comment was during the public comment, unless you're the applicant. Okay. County right-of-way is county-owned right-of-way. So with that, staff is recommending approval of the Rhonda's Beef agribusiness, and then with the stipulations listed in the recommendation. And
So is it a class 2 or a class 3? Because you had said class 2 verbally, but in the packet it says class 3.
No, it's class 2. The planner inserted what was approved for the text amendment, which includes agriculture industry, and creates some confusion. Agriculture industries requires C3. I had asked for that to be changed, but apparently it did not get updated. I apologize. It is a C2.
Any other questions?
Is there
for staff?
any stipulation on the quantity of parking spaces?
No.
Not like if you build a house, you have to have, or a townhome or something, you gotta have 2 parking spots per unit or something. It's not.
No, it's not like that. With the house itself, you probably have two spaces for the garage for the residences. Then you have the driveway that accommodates multiple other parking spaces. And then if they want people to park next to the shed and pull in there, they can do that as well.
To identify the parking, is there any regulations or guidelines on how they should identify those?
Not for agribusinesses. If they want to put up a sign with that's staked into the ground, that would work. It just needs to identify where they want their customers to park.
And the operating hours, is that something we should ask the applicant?
Yep, you could ask the applicant about operating hours, and if you want to restrict that, that is definitely something within the purview of the planning commission.
Is the applicant here?
Jason, you want to come up, just come up to the lectern and state your name for the record.
Jason Morgan. I'm here representing Diamond D Beef and Rhonda's Fresh Produce. She's out there in the hall with the grandkid, but anyway, yeah, we open usually at 9 in the morning and close. In the summer, we stay open a little longer when the produce is there, but usually by dark we close up. It's long through the evening.
What would you say is like the highest number of parking spaces, time of day, weekends, Saturday, probably?
Probably Saturdays in the summer. We probably 4 cars. We have plenty of room to the south of the shed.
Especially when you move it back 30 feet.
Any others?
Any questions? No more? Thank you. For the planning commission, we have an opportunity to put hours of operation on. Do you think what's necessary where it's located?
No.
Especially if it's not causing a problem
No,
with
it's-
traffic flow. So,
It's in a pretty rural area. Okay. So if there's no more discussion, I'm ready for a motion.
Madam Chair, I move we approve the Rhonda's Fresh Produce and Diamond D Beef Agribusiness CUP, application 24.026, identified by serial number 01004-234 and by parcel ID 00001 6145 and located at 2245 North Morgan Valley Drive near Peterson, based on the findings with the conditions listed in the staff report.
second.
Okay, I have a motion by member Bass and a second by member Bishop. Any discussion on that motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, our next item is TTD Customs Business Conditional Use Permit.
This is for application number 24.017. It's a conditional use permit for a printing business located in light manufacturing zoning. The business, as I said, they do mass printing, printing activities of vehicle decals, various other stickers, applications, window tinting, large format printing, banners, etc. It's in a light manufacturing zone, which is one of the zones that allows for heavier type uses. I'm not sure printing activities falls into a really heavy type activity. Staff is not recommending any stipulations except for that the applicant properly dispose of any chemicals or waste materials that come from the printing activities. Other than that, this type of use requires a C2 in light manufacturing, so they've applied for that. With that, staff is recommending approval, and we'll answer any questions that you may have.
Questions for staff?
Like, I'm just curious on my own account, how many employees do they have? How big of an operation is it?
That I don't know. The applicant may be in the audience. Oh, yep, they're in the audience.
Yep. If you can come up and state your name for the record, please.
Tyler Hansen. So to answer that question, right now we really just have 3 employees, which also are just the 3 business owners.
Okay. What, down the road, how big do you think this is gonna get? I know you probably have your dreams. I just curious what you think. In terms
I would say up to about 10 employees, in within the next year or two. That's kind of the goal.
Do the printing operations have any kind of a discharge that we need to worry about?
So the printer itself does have some discharge, and it's an ink that when it goes through and cleans itself. And so when we buy a new, it's called a maintenance cartridge. When we purchase a new maintenance cartridge, there's a plastic bag that the old one goes into, and then it just says to dispose of it. It's a water-based ink.
But nothing in the stormwater or anything like discharges that way. It will
No.
be contained within the ink cartridge.
Yeah.
Can we see the map?
Yeah,
Please.
It's located. It's called Browning Armory.
Yeah, it's one of the Browning building.
Don't have anything.
Any more questions for either the staff or applicant? Ready for a motion then?
Madam Chair, I move we approve the TTD Customs Business CUP application number 24.017, identified by serial number 03-005-103-01 and parcel ID number 00-0005-3841 and located at 6343 North Cottonwood Canyon Road in Mountain Green, and as modified by the conditions stated in the staff report.
Second.
Motion by member Wilson and a second by member Bass. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Now, we're gonna need a motion to continue the Be Well with Jill CUP to our May 23rd.
Madam Chair, I move to postpone item number 9 to May 23rd, 2024.
Second.
I have a motion by member Bass. I heard member Little
Yeah.
first, his second. I'll take that. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Okay, item number 10, the Gee Plat Amendment.
This is application number 24.018. Steve Gee is the property owner. The application is for a plat amendment. It includes a parcel that is not part of a subdivision, as well as one lot that is part of the Monte Verde subdivision, which was platted in, I believe it was 1963 or 1965. It's a fairly old subdivision. The lot is vacant currently, but it is a completely developable lot. The parcel behind is also developable. However, Steve Gee has decided he'd like to combine the lot and the parcel together, which would amend the subdivision. As such, he is going through the process to do that, which is the plat amendment process. Since one of the lots in question is part of a subdivision, the state statute requires that. Staff has no additional stipulations, and he has addressed all the county engineer and surveyor comments. And with that, staff is recommending approval of the plat amendment.
Can we see the plat, please?
One more.
So the large parcel on the top that looks like an upside down house, that's the parcel that's not part of the subdivision. The small quadrangle near the street, that's the current lot. It's lot 21 of the Monte Verde subdivision. He's combining those two pieces into a single.
Do you know if the Mount Verde subdivision has a HOA?
I doubt they do. It's all the way back in 1963.
Any other questions for staff?
Did we stipulate anything about improving that little road?
No, it is a public road. It was dedicated to the city, so if anybody is responsible for improving it, it would be the county.
Is that little jog to the right, is it?
It's county right of way. We accepted it as part of the dedication of the 1963 plat, and therefore we have responsibility for it. We've been working with the property owner to the south to remove the junk and the vehicles that have been stored there for years.
So the one in the center plus the house.
That's this one.
This
That's
one?
That's the lot 21.
Oh, got it. Okay.
That's his, where we're gonna build his house, and so he's already gravel road going up there, where the driveway is gonna go.
That's correct. If he kept them both separate, he would have had to, we would count that as a shared driveway, which means that the improvement standards would have been greater for that. So he's combining them together so he doesn't have to create a shared driveway.
Is there any limitation on slope of the driveway?
Slope of driveway is 12% max.
Do you know what it is?
That will be determined when he actually finishes his construction and the fire department does their inspections. Because it's 12% for the fire department as well.
Any other questions?
Nope.
No more discussion. I'm ready for a motion.
Madam Chair, I move we recommend approval of the County Commission of the G plat amendment application number 018, approximately located at 6102 West Valley View Drive, based on the findings listed in the staff report with the following additional conditions which were listed in the staff report.
Okay, I have a motion by Member Wilson
I'll second it.
and a second by Member Little. Any discussion on that motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. This is on the Rindelsbach plat amendment. This is agenda item number 11.
This is for application number 23.055. The application has gone through several reviews with the county engineer and the county surveyor having comments. Those comments have been addressed. As such, we've brought it forward, and this will be the fourth plat amendment for this subdivision. The proposal is to, if you could go to the subdivision plat in the that's yep. Yep. Thank you. So currently, plat amendment number 3 created a 30-plus acre parcel with which was going to be fed by a private street and an easement to the back. That's been changed. He's dividing the 30-plus acre parcel into 3 total parcels. So you have lot 6C, 5C, and 2C, which are the 3 lots that are being pulled out of the main lot. And then he's adding 1/10 of an acre to lot 1B. Typically when an amendment occurs and lots are affected, the first amendment, the lots that are affected will receive an A after their lot number. And then as lots are amended through further plats, then it becomes B and C and however many plat amendments there are. So in this case, the large parcel, if you go to the previous page in the plat, this is the existing plat, third amendment, and you can see that lot 2B takes up everything except for the 3 lots along the street in the corner to the on the right side of the map. So those are lot 1A, 3A, and 4A. Now, if you go back to the next map, you can see from this plat amendment that lot 1A is now 1B because it's being amended to add 10% of an acre onto that lot. So right now it's 1.5. After this plat amendment, it will be 1.6. And then lot 3A and 4A, they're staying 3A and 4A because they're not being changed. And then to the left of those, you see lot 5C, 2C, and 6C. Those C's are because they're being pulled out of 2B. So 2B becomes 2C, and then the additional lots being created also have C. I didn't make up the way that you do this, but I'm trying to explain it. So
did you lose some fingers and we'll go from 2 to 5 to 6? What happened to
Yeah.
3 and 4?
3 and 4 are in the first subdivision that was created.
And there's currently houses on 1B and 2C.
Possibly.
Yes.
Thank you.
Is this setting up for future subdivision on 6C, or is that?
He's creating additional lots to sell. He has the acreage to do it, and he has the zoning. So as this is an administrative item, as long as he meets our minimum code requirements and addresses all engineer comments and surveyor comments, it can't be denied. So this is, go ahead.
I think Member Biff was asking if lot 6C is setting up for future
No,
development.
that's
Explain again.
that's 20 acres. Right now, that parcel or that lot, as far as I remember, is all A20. So if he wanted to divide it further, he would have to rezone it. And right now, with the way it's set up, he's proposing a private lane. And private lanes can only serve 4 lots. Can't serve more than that.
Where would the private lane be?
It's that cul-de-sac. So it's moving north and east and to the cul-de-sac. That's the private lane. And according to this plat, it'll be serving 4 lots. So if he wanted to divide it further in the future, he'd have to go through a rezone, and then that private lane would have to be upgraded to a private street.
How do you get from the cul-de-sac to 6C?
6C is a 20-acre A20 parcel, which means that you can access it through an access easement, according to our code.
Is he giving himself an easement for the future?
Technically, you're not allowed to give yourself an easement. There's things called spring easements, And the spring easements would spring into effect if you sell the property to somebody else, but you're not allowed to give yourself an easement. So,
So the person that buys 6C will be given an easement through between 5 and 2.
that's correct, and it's denoted on the plat that it will happen.
So we don't have to come back to this.
No, it'll be good. Unless he wants to amend it again, and then we'll take the application, we'll process it accordingly.
Decline it, no.
As long as we don't get to letter Zs.
That would be a problem.
Yes. I noticed a note on the plat still refers to a private street maintenance, so that will need to be changed if it's going to be a private lane.
That's correct. That's one thing that we've asked them to update, and it needs to state private lane.
Right now, it's just being, maintenance is done by one lot, and I guess that's going to stay.
If you want the applicant to speak to that, I'm not sure how the maintenance is being handled.
Okay, if the applicant would like to come forward. Please state your name for the record.
Ken Reynolds-Bach. I live at 1340 North Morgan Valley Drive. You can see I've been subdividing this a few times. That lot will have we are going to require that lot to maintain the whole road, just because he's going to use most of it. So
2C?
instead of making and try to put it together an HOA, we decided that lot will maintain the road.
6C
6C,
will maintain the private lane.
Yes.
And the cul-de-sac and everything.
yes.
But they don't have access.
Pardon me?
But they don't have access to the private lane.
But
Yeah,
they will when
do.
they buy it.
Yeah, they drive down that easement on this lot.
They'll turn up the private lane.
And go up the
I'm
cul-de-sac
sorry,
and then
because
go
I
down
thought
the
there
easement.
wasn't an easement, and now he's saying there is an easement.
It's on the plan.
So I'm confused.
Oh, there is an access easement.
It's on that lot 5C.
Okay.
There's an access easement. That'll be for utilities.
For lot 6C,
That's correct.
where it comes off the cul-de-sac.
Correct.
There's a 30-foot access easement
Correct.
and public utility easement between 2C and 5C. You can see it there.
Has somebody already bought 6C?
There's a lot of people on that one. That has the river and a big hay or a big horse pasture.
State law prohibits you from selling lots that are not legally created yet. And so as he's going through the plat amendment has to be finalized and recorded before he can sell the lots.
I just have a lot of interest. I haven't sold it.
No, I was just, because earlier the comment was, once the lot's created, then you can have the easement, and there's an owner, and you're saying that there's an easement, so I was
Right.
kind of like cart before the horse, or the horse before the cart. I
No,
don't know.
when we record it, there's an easement on it. It's on it. Any other questions?
Any more questions? The applicant?
Haley always has questions.
I don't have any questions.
Oh,
I asked my questions.
okay. Thanks.
So any questions for staff?
It's not a public hearing.
No, this is a,
Is there a limit to this, to amendments, just out of my own curiosity?
Unless you run out of money, you can continue to file amendments on a plat. As long as you meet our minimum code requirements, you can record amendments over and over and over again.
All right.
I guess. I guess you could look at it that way.
no more questions. I'm ready for a motion.
Madam Chair, I move we recommend approval of the County Commission of the Rindelsbach Plat Amendment, application number 23.055, approximately located at 1340 North Morgan Valley Drive within Stoddard, based on findings listed in the staff report dated May 9th, 2024, with the following additional conditions, and those would be the ones listed in the staff report.
Okay, I have a motion by member Wilson
Second.
and a second by member Bath. Any questions on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries. Okay, now we move on to our legislative items, which will have public hearings. Number 12, agenda item is the Brown rezone.
Can we have the map up while we're talking about it? Thanks.
This is for application number 24.020. Michael Brown is the applicant. The property is located at 790 West Young Street. The boundary of the property in general, it is contiguous with the city, and I believe, and just to put this out here, it is, I believe, part of the city's annexation plan in the future. That doesn't mean it will be annexed, but they put properties on their annexation plan so they don't have to amend that map later if they choose to annex or if the property owner chooses to apply for that. The property currently is split zoned, ranch residential 5 and rural residential 1 acre on the general plan designation, and the zoning itself is split zoned, rural residential 5 and rural residential 1 acre. As it is split zoned, the applicant is applying to change the split zoned RR5 and RR1 to straight RR1 zoning. And staff is recommending approval of that rezone, given its location to the city and the desire to maintain a rural residential lifestyle. Rural residential 1 acre minimum, according to our code, falls in line with that. And on top of that, the property is split zone, so it already contains rural residential 1 acre minimum. And so staff is recommending approval that the property be changed to all rural residential 1 acre minimum to bring, just so that it's all 1 acre as opposed to split zoned. Split zone makes it harder to enforce. With that, I can answer any questions you may have. The applicant is in the audience.
What are the lots, the 4 lots, the 2 and 2? How big?
Which ones?
The 2 on the Young Street and the 2 on Morgan Valley Drive. that right
Those are
next
going to
it.
be a little bit more than 1 acre. Can you, is there, maybe you can, do you know how to close that down and bring up the Morgan map?
I've got it. They are 1.3 acres. The one just to the right.
Thank you.
And the other one, 1.6.
North. Go the other way. Yep. It's just right there on the edge. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, zoom right in there. And then scroll it up a little bit. Yeah, drag it up.
More there.
Yeah, a little bit there. And then the
285. Click on 285. It'll pop up. Or 86. Yeah, there you go.
No, other direction down Young Street. Yeah.
Those are 1.6 and 1.8.
Can you talk me through the process of an annexation? I know that's not what we're talking about, but
annexation, if if the property is shown on the annexation map, or not, the property owner, if they are contiguous to a city, would go to the city, file an application for annexation. The county has no say whether it is annexed or not. There is no vote. The city council would be the only voting party.
But the property owners have to agree as well, right?
Yeah, well, the property, if there are, I'm not 100% on top of the annexation laws in Utah, but typically, if there are multiple properties that the city wants to annex, if 51% of the property owners within that area want to annex, my understanding is they don't need 100% of the property owners to agree. In this case, you have one property owner, if they so chose to annex into the city.
Okay. What about this little part on the top right that's not included in the yellow, but it's not in the gray?
I don't know who owns that. They could annex or not.
So that's
There's-
not them.
You would have to ask the applicant. The only property that's going for rezone is that one right there. The other property, let's just say the property owner chooses to annex, then that other property would just become a county island.
Okay.
But because his property is contiguous to the city, that's not something that would hold.
So going down from 2 acre parcels, it seems kind of odd when you've got acre and a half, acre and a quarter, acre, so larger parcels, to then
Technically, they're not. They fall in line with the rural residential 1 acre minimum. There's no other zoning classification for that size of a parcel. On top of that, Morgan County has what's called tunnel zoning, and that tunnel zoning is 200 to 300 feet on both sides, measured from the center line, if I remember correctly, along all major roads within the county, which creates a lot of split zone parcels. That split zoning in every other state I've worked in is avoided at all costs, but Morgan County has kind of embraced that. With that said, this parcel that's being rezoned has a third of it approximately already zoned rural residential 1 acre. So it's split zoned. It has it already.
The one next to Young Street, right? The south side of it.
The south side, you have an interesting situation because you have parcels there that are don't have any rural residential. They're zoned A20, and yet they're less than 20 acres on both sides, south of Young and on the southwest side of Morgan Valley Drive. I'm looking at the map right there, sir. It's not your turn to
Excuse me?
talk.
It's not time for you to talk. Thank you. I think Haiti was asking about the split zone of this parcel, the brown parcel.
Right.
So if you
I assume the one
Mikhail,
is
can
next
you-
to the road.
go up, I think it's up, a map will show the zoning.
That is the zoning map right there.
Shows R5.
Yeah, well, I'm
You-
looking at the one.
Do you see
the
that
one in our
white star?
packet has the different colors.
Oh, it does.
Yeah, there it is.
That is the future land use map.
Oh,
The future land use map is pretty close to what the zoning shows.
Okay, they want to go from RR, split zoning RR5 and RR1 to RR1.
That's correct.
And there's a house on there,
Correct.
and it's in the RR5 area.
Part of it is. Part of it is not.
The house?
I think the house is.
Oh, the house is in the RR5, yeah. I'm sorry. I thought you were talking about the parcel.
But brown is indicating RR5. Right?
I'm sorry.
That was a bad question.
Darker
I
shaded.
answered my own question. Okay,
The darker shaded.
Is RR5.
right.
That's correct. Yeah, it's the brown rezone. I just
So, okay, Madam Chair, I move that we open up for public hearing.
You ready? Okay, I have a motion to go into public hearing. Is there a second? A second, that was Member Bass making the motion, a second by Member Wilson. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? You've seen it, yeah.
My name is William Petty. I live both across the street, and I'm the developer and the president of the homeowners association for the Morning Dove Estates. Directly across the street, in the zone that was labeled as A20 is incorrect. That is part of a PRUD. When I went through the development process through this, I was denied the RR1 zoning immediately across the street. The entire 21 acres, actually this is the wrong plat because it does not actually designate both the fact that that's a PRUD, and in a development it's the overall density, not the actual size of the lots, as well as we were required by this board and by the county council to deed over property to the county in order to have a legal right-of-way and a legal easement into Morgan Valley Drive. Since that time, the county decided to move the road onto that, so there's no longer a legal easement on this side. What I'm wondering is why this property owner is just getting to rezone the property instead of having it combined with a development plan and a development agreement, as was set precedence previously and for all other purposes. As far as the city annexing that, once the city does annex that, if they annex it, it's under their purview and under their jurisdiction that any rezoning and development would happen. So therefore, the annexation of this property should have no bearing on the county's decision whether to rezone this or not. I would like to have some understanding on why this is being allowed to be rezoned outside a development agreement and all of the restrictions that is therefore put on it. In addition to that, all of these things like how many wells are drilled, what is the plan from the health department to have sewer systems, all of these things, those are all taken care of in the development process, but by just blanketly rezoning this, you have, if he comes back to say, okay, I'm selling this piece, you've already let go of all of those. There's no opportunity to address those issues, including the easement that should be there for the road.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else?
My name is Joe Phelps, and I live on Morgan Valley Drive, and Mike Brown is our neighbor. And I was not given sufficient time to really, nor were we given a map attached to the letter that was sent to our home. So I don't feel properly prepared because I was going to go to the Planning Commission and gather more information because I also have a lot of concerns, and I concur with this gentleman right here. There's a lot of things that have not been addressed. So to allow this to go forward before those issues are addressed is a real concern. My other concern is that it's going to open up other avenues down the road, down Morgan Valley Drive, to do the exact same thing that Mr. Brown wants to do. And as far as I'm aware, unless there's been some changes, the future land map is trying to keep Morgan Valley Drive open with 5 and 10 acre lots to keep a rural feel. There will be a few 1 acre lots, but they won't be so close together. That's really densely populated. It sounds like it's big, but it's not. The properties that are in back of us on Surrey Lane, those are on 2.5. I think one might be a 3 acre lot. The homes are large, and it looks like a subdivision, and it feels like a subdivision. And the lots that he wants to divide into 1 acre lots is going to feel even worse. And I would like to know if there's going to be a size requirement on the 1 acre lots. Are they going to be able to build a mansion, or is it going to be a smaller home? I mean, there's so many things, like that gentleman said, that no one has even discussed yet. So to go forward and to give approval without looking at all these other concerns that we have. And I agree too with the well water. That's a real big concern for us. And it would be really helpful in the future if we could have a copy of the map that to be sent out with the letter. And also if we had more time that we could gather signatures for a petition to let the county here and let the meeting know why we are concerned. But we weren't given that time. It was just really, really quick. And also, if you could possibly make those notices that you put on the road a little bit bigger, because they're hard to see. I'm older, but I find them hard to see. You can't read the print. And then to move over, there's not really a lot of room. We're having to go on somebody else's property. So if you could make them larger, and then if we could please have more notification so that we would have a right to gather signatures on a petition to oppose this. Thank you for hearing me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Any more public comments?
My name is Stephen Clark, and I live at 243 South Morgan Valley Drive. So I'm not actually an abutment neighbor to this, but my property ownership predates the PRUD that Mr. Brown did to create Surrey Lane Estates. So I have the history behind me to know how this was developed. I kind of feel like the map is slightly deceiving because it does not show the lot that the Brown home currently sits on. And long story short, the county spent a lot of money on going through the master plan and updating it and doing all of that. And I don't really see the purpose for spending all of that money on the master plan when especially this landowner has done an initial development, come back to redo the initial development, then come back a third time to redo the redo of the development. And so it just, and this has been brought up prior, but it's reinforced here. This concentrates the population counter to, and I know that the Surrey Lane property owners are supposedly in a 5-acre, but in reality, because the development was done under a PRUD, none of the Surrey Lane lots conform to the 5-acre RR zoning anyway. So I think it adds insult to injury to increase the density on this parcel for all of those property owners who have somewhat depended on the fact that they were to be protected from closer neighbors by the RR5 zoning. So that's my feeling. I hope that we'll heavily consider approving this rezone request. Thanks.
Thank you. Any other public comment?
I'm
Yeah.
Mike.
The applicant can wait.
Oh, this is not part of
You, Mr. Brown, you will have a chance as an applicant to speak. State your name again, just so.
Yes, my name is Joanne Phelps, and I live at 257 South Morgan Valley Drive. I think the thing that concerns me the most and worries me the most that as a community, we have now voted twice on what our image of Morgan is to be. And one of the things we voted on was to keep Morgan Valley Drive as rural as possible and not dense with a bunch of 1-acre lots, but they were supposed to be 5 and 10. And so if we're going to take the time to vote and tell you what we want our community to look like, why then can someone go ahead and change that? It was voted on to keep Morgan Valley Drive rural. So I don't understand how we can go against what the residents of Morgan have voted for this community. And that's all I wanted to add. Thank you.
Madam Chair, I move we go to public hearing.
I have a motion by Member Bass to go to public hearing. Is there a second? Okay, well,
Whoever did, I'm good.
Bishop, I got a second by Member Bishop. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries.
Do you want to hear from the applicant? I would
Yes, we can
recommend
hear from the applicant.
before I
Yep.
respond to some of the comments that have been made.
We'll hear from the applicant. Mr. Brown?
Michael Brown. I am the applicant and the owner of the property, and I appreciate the comments that have been shared so far. I think that one thing that might be helpful is a little context around what is trying to be accomplished, so it may assuage some of the fears that some of my neighbors might have. If I could just spend just a second on that. So, as noted, it is a 5-acre and a 1-acre current zone. I'm proposing that it be changed to 1 acre, not for the purpose of having 1-acre lots and developing and having multiple families on there. It is actually so that I can use where the star is, which is current RR1, and expand that one lot into the 4-acre lot, which is currently in the green corner that my neighbors would probably be aware of. So I didn't move to Morgan to put in a bunch of 1-acre lots around me. The purpose of is to be able to expand and sell at some time in the future, not determined at this time, where I could sell up to 4 acres. And to accommodate that, I'd have to move my current home out of 5 acres into the 1 acres. So,
Do you have a temporary or a tentative plan?
no, I don't.
State statute for any rezoning requires only a legal description of the property to be rezoned. There is no discussion. They don't have to say what they're proposing to do with it. The fact that Mr. Brown is wanting to talk about that, that is his choice. And an affidavit of property ownership to allow them to rezone the property and then pay the fee to rezone it. The subdivision comes later. That process occurs after the rezone.
Can I clarify one thing with you? When I have 1 acre already in RR1, is it only a plat amendment to add to that RR1 additional property?
So right now he has a little bit more than 1 acre in the RR1, which would allow him to divide off. And as long as he maintains 5 acres in the RR5, he could do that without going through the rezone. My
It's where the
understanding,
star is, right?
the
The
star,
1 acre is where the star is,
not just where the star is.
but like along.
It's the star, and then along back the entire property line all the way back to where Surrey Lane and this property meet. So there's
All RR1.
it's all RR1 already.
Okay.
So this property is already split zoned RR1 and RR5. If he wanted to tomorrow to come in with a plat, because he's got more than 1 acre in the RR1, he could plat off the 2 lots now. However, up to 3 acres, because this lot is only 8.18 acres in size, correct? So if he wants to split off 4 acres and divide the lot in half, he would need RR1 zoning, because we don't have any zoning classifications between RR1 and RR5.
Okay, so he wanted to, let's say he wanted to split the 8.18 into 2, each of those would have to have part of the 1 acre. Right?
No, that's, if he wanted to split it off so that he kept 5 acres in the RR5, then you wouldn't need any portion of the RR1 on that, because it meets the RR5 zoning. So as long as the property being divided off of this one has 1 acre minimum in the RR1, he can divide it off. That's been allowed all up and down Morgan Valley Drive. And with the adoption of the flag lot, the second lot in the back could be a flag lot as well. So he can divide it into 2 lots right now. But if he wants 4 acres in each lot, he has to go through the rezoning because he doesn't have 9 acres. So he'd have to have 1 acre in that case, 1 acre in both lots that he's creating.
1 acre in both lots, not just part of the RR1 in each.
Correct. So if he had enough RR1 along that entire frontage, which for some reason doesn't extend all the way down, I don't know why it doesn't, but if he had RR1 along that entire frontage, he probably would have the 2 acres in the RR1. But he doesn't, based on our map. Is that clear as mud?
Yeah.
More questions for staff or the applicant?
For the applicant. Just go ahead and step back.
Sorry about that.
Dan.
To summarize, the only reason why I'm proposing to do this is so that I can change my 5 acre where my house is to 4 acres. That would allow me to sell 1 piece of 4 acres additionally, so that I could increase from 3 acres to 4 acres. It doesn't make sense to me. If I could come in tomorrow, as you mentioned, and sell 3 acres. I feel like if I'm going to sell 3 acres, I don't want to just have 1 in the back. So that's the only reason why I'm saying, I think my neighbors are concerned that I'm trying to do 4 1 acre lots. It's quite the opposite. I'm trying to do 1 4 acre lot. So the density would not be something that would be egregious, I hope. So you had a question, sir?
I have no problem with recommending that you just do a 3 acre lot and a 5 acre lot and call it a day. I have a harder time as a county, or as a part of the planning commission to give you a blank 1 acre zoning. Because as it was just explained to me that the whole plat comes later, and so we don't know. So we're kind of opening up a can of worms that I'm not saying that you're being dishonest at all, so please don't think it that way. But say you sold all 8 acres and you had it already rezoned 1 acre, the next person could come in and say, oh, now I can put 1 acre lots on it, which they do later.
Maybe staff could help me with this one as well, but my understanding that because I'm in the county, that when you have a well and you have a septic system with a spare septic system required, that you can't do that on a 1 acre lot anyway. Oh, sorry. So that's my understanding, if you can speak to that.
So within the county where there is no available water system, which this property, they would have to annex into the city to be able to use an available water system. So no water system is available and no water system is proposed. So as such, they would do wells and septic. With wells and septic, they would need Weaver Morgan Health Department certification. And at this point, because of the soils in Morgan County, they're requiring typically 1.75 acres for any lot. Even though our zoning only requires 1 acre, they typically have to provide 1.75. And that 1.75 allows for a secondary leach field or drain field, just in case the first one fails. So even if you wanted to do 1 acre, you wouldn't get 1 acre. Not only that, but in order to serve the properties in the back, if he were to divide it off and try to create a subdivision, he would have to put in a street. and that chews it up. So what you would do is you would typically take the 8.18 acres, you'd multiply it by 0.35, that gives you, reverse that, multiply it by 0.65, that removes 35% of the area. That 35% is typically what's required for infrastructure, curbs, gutters, streets, etc. That leaves, in this case, that'll leave you approximately 5.5 acres of developable acreage. Divide that by 1.75 acres, you pretty much got 3. So right now he could divide and get 2 anyway. Rezoning, it's adjacent to the city. I firmly believe that the topic of annexation is absolutely applicable because once it's rezoned in the city, it will not be rezoned to 1 acre parcels or whatever. The city will probably require 10,000 or 20,000 square foot lots, which is, that's a lot of lots. So,
So we could rezone it now, but then if it did get annexed, they would just change it anyway.
well, I'm not
Or
saying he's
could.
going to apply for annexation, but
I'm just saying that that's
It
how
could.
annexation works.
that's how annexation works. So if any of those property owners that are contiguous to the city decide, hey, I want to annex, if they go to the city would modify their annexation map to include that property if it's not already included. The county, the only thing the county's involved in is noticing the public to let them know that an annexation is occurring. And then the city council takes the vote. It doesn't come back to the county at all. We have no say.
Could the annexation creep? Like they take this part and then
Yeah.
they
The city can annex if property owners, 51% of the property owners want to annex, and the county really has no say. That's why if you go on the other side of Wasatch, to the Wasatch Front or whatever it's called, those cities, they grab as much property as they can. That's why all the cities, all their boundaries border up to one another, because they understand that the more land that they bring in, the more property they bring in can be developed, which brings in more revenue and more services, and the more housetops you have, the more commercial you can get. And the more commercial you get, the more services you can bring in, which means they can grow even more.
I have
So
a question, but
that's kind of how that works.
I'm not sure if you'll be able to answer it because you haven't been here long enough. Has the city annexed before? Like, was the city smaller and then it got to where it is now, or it's pretty much been as big as it is?
I guarantee they've annexed more land. In fact, they're going through an annexation right now on a couple pieces of property already. You could probably go to the city and they should have ordinances that show all of their annexations going back through the history since they incorporated.
Okay.
Is the city line
The dark.
subdivision?
It's the really dark,
Okay.
grayish, brownish with the black line. Yeah, that's the city.
Okay, well, any other comments from the applicant, I guess?
Just one last thing. Got the mic this time. Yeah, that is my only purpose of making this request, is so that I can not sell 3 acres sometime in the future, that I could sell 4 acres in the future. So my intent is not to chop it all up and have lots of different, homes in there. Annexation, that's not something that I've had discussions with, so I think that's kind of a separate issue to me. But I think that's it. I hope that, I've been able to communicate to my neighbors that, I'm not trying to do 1 acre lots, I'm just trying to do 1 4 acre lot at some time in the future. No time has been determined on that. So I think that's it, unless you have any other questions for me.
Okay. Well, no, public comment's done.
To clarify a few other things. So after rezoning, that's when a subdivision application is submitted. The subdivision application covers all required right-of-way, proposed streets, required easements for public utilities. Everything like that is handled through the subdivision process. as long as those subdivisions meet our code requirements for infrastructure, including both dry and wet utilities, subdivisions cannot be denied. So the legislative process is the point in the process where there is discretion to approve or deny. Tonight, the Planning Commission is recommendation body to the County Commission, and then the County Commission will make the final decision. With some of the other things that were said, I can't speak to how development, because as you said, I wasn't here, how development occurred in the past, requiring development agreements. I know PRUDs are no longer allowed in our code. That was deleted out. So whatever he was required to go through is not in our code right now. There's only a couple items or a couple times when development agreements are absolutely required, and that's when a property is rezoned to town center, which requires a development agreement, and if you go to resort special district. Those are the only times that a development agreement is absolutely required. We did adopt a new rezone district called the PC zoning district, which allows an applicant to tailor their zoning. And there's a lot of give and take there between the county commission and the applicant. There's a lot of requirements for that, and we spent a lot of time drafting that. That one would probably most likely require a development agreement as well, but most of that is supposed to be encompassed within the narrative, and then that's adopted by ordinance, and the applicant would have to follow that. This is not it. This is a straight zone from RR5 to RR1. That is what is being requested. So as such, no development agreement would be required by our code, and as you know, my whole goal is to follow the code, period.
Okay.
And then there's also, needs to be brought up, this was part of a PRUD, and we haven't looked into it. We will at the subdivision times. There could have been some open space requirement for this PRUD, since the other lots were clustered. I don't know, we didn't do development agreements back then. I'm not aware.
The PRUD
Of a-
also was not a rezone. It was a subdivision process. So
Right.
it would not have been legislative at that time.
So whether there's notes on the plat or whatever research we can find with the motion that was made for this PRUD, was there a requirement for open space? And is that open space part of this lot? We don't know. But,
No.
no.
The public hearing was opened and it was closed. The public hearing was open and it was closed. That's how these processes work. If the county attorney could speak to, if you want to be removed, I could have you removed. Thank you. Could you speak to that, please?
Yes, public comment can only occur during the public comment. That time's passed, and so it's done.
Public comment is
And
passed.
It's passed.
Passed.
It's done.
You'll have another chance. This is a recommendation body only for this item. It'll go to county commission. You'll have another chance to comment there.
So right now, we are just looking to see if this is appropriate place for 1 acre zoning in the county.
My answer would be no.
Debbie, you said that this could have been part of a PRUD at one point?
It is a PRUD.
It is.
It is part of a PRUD, this, yes.
The Surrey
This is
Lane.
Surrey Lane. This lot is part of Surrey Lane.
The Surrey Lane and 8.18 is all a PRUD.
And
That's true. But again, that's the subdivision process. This isn't a subdivision process, and an applicant has the right to submit an application requesting rezoning of their property, regardless of what has occurred on the property below.
So in the subdivision process, so we can review that and see where open space was required.
It will absolutely be reviewed during the subdivision process. They will have to go through a plat amendment to amend the Surrey Lane plat. And at that time, there will be the plat notes and everything else.
we cannot reduce the open space.
Right.
Have
That
in the
open
code.
space, that open space that was approved as part of that subdivision was approved in order to allow for greater entitlements. That's why none of the lots in Surrey Lane, except for this one, are 5 acres in size. They're all under 5 acres. Because of that, because of the modification to entitlements to allow for additional lots, there were open space requirements, and those open space requirements can't be reduced.
But we wouldn't know what those open space requirements were until the,
Subdivision process and plat amendment, and I would bring that forward. Yep.
Seems a little backwards.
Josh, I have a question for you.
It's not.
Seems it though.
Setting entitlements on the property is absolutely the first step in the process. Go ahead.
I had a question for you. If it goes to the commission, can the commission do what they're asking for?
Your
Have to. Sorry.
No, they don't have to. The county commission can follow. If this body were to recommend denial, they could follow your recommendation as your recommendation.
That's not my question. Sorry, I'm not very good at explaining myself. In the PRUD agreement, can the commission go in and dissolve that and change it around if it goes to them?
No,
They
you'd
can't
have
do
to
that either.
vacate. Yeah, you'd have to vacate the entire plat to get rid of those notes. Any plat amendment is going to require the signatures of all the plat owners in order for it to be a public meeting. If the applicant cannot get all the signatures of the plat, it'll become a public hearing legislative item, and in that case, the plat amendment is legislative and could be denied.
Answer your question?
Kind of, sort of, yeah.
Sort of. Okay, let me try again.
I got it. I'm okay. You don't have to do that. I appreciate
Okay.
what you said. Thank you.
Okay.
I am not for 1 acre lots. Regardless of what the plan is, we always know that sometimes the plan doesn't always work out like it was told to us. So I'm not for having that subdivided into or rezoned to 1 acre lots.
Would you be in favor of it being rezoned to 1 acre lot under what Josh just told us in terms of the city annexing that and creating far greater density housing?
Well, from what I understand is if we did 1 acre lots and then it got annexed anyway, they could still make those lots smaller.
In reality, 1 acre lots are 1.75, so almost 2 acre lots. We tried to get a 2 acre zone. I think when Surrey Lane came through, I wasn't on the planning commission, but I remember the discussion. They tried to get a 2 acre zone within our county. They felt that was more appropriate because of the well and septic, even at that time. But it didn't happen.
So, I guess in my opinion then, if it's gonna remain county, I would be more interested in passing this along, so it creates at the very most 3 acres. But if we're not worried about that, if we're not worried about the county losing that property, if it's gonna go to the city, it doesn't really matter, right? They're gonna do what they're gonna do. So I guess what I'm saying in my convoluted way is that it looks to me like this is not such a bad deal, the way it's set up, if it stays in the county. You understand what I'm saying? Am I making
Yeah.
myself
Like
halfway
you're
clear?
saying, if we were denied, then he'd probably most likely want to be annexed at that point.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
Well, not if the
Well,
plan is to divide it into 2 lots.
Well, I'm saying it doesn't matter, because if the city annexes it, they're gonna do what they want. We're out of the picture at that point in time. We have no say over it.
So for clarification, the annexation process, the 2 lots to the southeast of that. So those 2 of those plus Mr. Brown, 2 of them would have to
They don't have to annex in for him to annex. His property is contiguous to the city as it is.
But then the city would be required to provide services.
Yeah, so any future subdivision, if he were to annex, he would be required to extend water and sewer and connect up to the services. That would be my guess.
So again, my question is, do we consider what the city might or might not do? In my opinion, we don't really care what the city does because they're going to do what they're going to do anyway. So then I look and say, okay, what's the best deal for the county? Am I thinking clearly? Am I making sense?
Would the best deal for the county be to try to meet his request so he'll stay in the county?
Well, that's what I'm saying back to you. At the very worst, even if he reneges on what he's saying, there's about 3 lots available. So that's what the worst case scenario for the county, or the best case scenario, depending on how you look at things. But what I'm saying back to you is 3 lots versus the. I believe that that's probably what's going to happen. So I guess what I'm saying is that the gamble is going to cost us 1 more lot if we lose it. Does that make sense?
But also the creep. Like if we
Yeah,
allow
but you
it,
can't stop that. Really,
we can try.
Ma'am, please stop.
The worst he's going to get is three lots. If you do that, as I see it. You see it different?
I get what you're saying.
And it's probably going to go to 4 or 2 4-acre lots, 2 lots. I'm saying it is. Sorry.
Just looking at the way the property is set up, the bottom right one that's on Young is 1.6 acres. If you just kind of laid that over this section, it then encroaches. So he really, I mean, at max would want to have 3 lots on there anyway. I mean, there's just, if you're going to stay living there.
But that also means that once they do the subdivision thing and they look and find out the open space, they might not even be guaranteed 3 lots because of the open space requirements.
That's correct.
So even less.
Possibility, we don't know
Right.
at this stage. Any more discussion?
Okay, I said my 2 cents worth.
Okay, you did.
I'll shut up.
If you have another question for Mr. Brown, he can come up.
I guess I understand you'd like to go 4 and 4 in the future from what you're saying. Would you be okay just going 3 and 5, and then this makes it a lot easier for all of us to come up with a solution? And basically we deny your request, but then you'd come back in and ask for expansion of your 1 acre side to take it to a 3-acre lot.
I've considered that. I think
Okay.
Anything you say tonight with regards to the recommendation is just that, it's a recommendation.
Sure.
So you're not approving or denying anything tonight? Okay, I just want to make sure because it's going to go to the county commission after this.
so. If you look at the map where it says 8.18, that would be the 1 acre area that would be remaining. And so it really is not very feasible or accessible for me because it's just kind of off by itself. And so that is the only reason why I'm asking for the rezone, is so that I don't do 3 acres, but I can include that last back acre. And if and when I do sell. My wife doesn't want me to, but there might be a time when I need it for retirement. So that's the only reason why that, you know, I'm trying to go from 3 to 4 is that one back piece isn't really very valuable to me in that state. So.
Thank you.
No more discussion.
So So I guess my question then is, if we recommend this to the county commission, how do you think they'll look at that, 4 versus 4? I guess it doesn't really matter, does it, to us?
No,
And then the next question I have is if it's under a PRUD agreement, I guess that was my question. Can the county commission just follow that recommendation and change that PRUD agreement without knowing the
They-
amount of open space like you were talking about?
the PRUD will not come into play until the subdivision process, and that's when they will look at it, but they can't change the open space requirement per our code.
So we
whatever-
don't know what that is.
We don't know what that is, no.
So basically, I think your earlier comment, the worst case scenario is it's 3 lots that are at 175, and one being larger. That's kind of
Minus
the
open
worst-
space.
But there is.
I guess that's my
Well-
question. If we recommend approval to the county commission, are they gonna say, well, we need to know what open space is on it first?
I don't,
There has to be open space on the PRUD, right? PRUDs require
Some
open
sort of
space.
trade-off there, I guess.
we don't know what the PRUD code was back then. That's the problem. The PRUD code has changed multiple times. I
So-
don't know what it was at that time.
The only thing I would have to go by is the plat notes of the Surrey Lane plat. Because I haven't seen a development agreement for the Surrey Lane subdivision. So I don't know what was required back then. I have no idea.
So in your opinion, if I may, Madam Chair, what's the proper course of action, the wise course of action for us on this?
Well,
Because we're
techni-
recommending something, we don't really know what we're recommending as far as I can see.
Well, technically, you're recommending to either rezone it or not. The amount of open space and the existence of the subdivision, that isn't even something that should be part of the discussion. If a property owner wants to rezone their property from RR5 to RR1, or RR5 and RR1 to RR1, you look at the general plan, you look at the property in question, and you look at adjacent properties. Is what they're proposing in line with what's already developed around them? Yeah. Are there underlying issues? Yeah, there are underlying issues that'll be addressed if they ever subdivide it in the future. But as far as staff is concerned, in my professional opinion, you have the city contiguous to it. The possibility of annexing is fairly high. If maintaining the rural residential lifestyle is what you want, you don't want them to annex or think about it or whatever, then I would entertain it, but I'm not the decision maker. I'm just here to give you the information. That is all my job is.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, sorry.
Debbie, I have a question for you, if I may. Remember when, Mark Walker and Ken came in on their
Bottom
PUD?
of, yeah, bottom of Island Road.
I remember we looked at that and we decided to recommend it was changed, but it was a PUD, right, or PRUD, by my memory.
Right.
We were really nervous about doing that. So I guess my question to you is, should I be nervous about recommending?
I think it was pulled out of the PRUD and changed to regular subdivision, wasn't it?
I don't know. County does things that I don't know that they do. All right, thank you.
I think he did a rezone, yeah. We pulled it out of the PRUD. So, any more discussion? We've gone around and around.
Well, this is kind of in your area. Ellie, what's your recommendation? And do you want to make the recommendation?
You're ready for a motion.
Well, you already know my opinion, so if
It's kind of the lesser of two evils.
and I would need the motions anyway. I don't have them.
Just go with the motion. You're
Make the motion up. And if you're not going with a positive recommendation, if you're going to go with a negative recommendation, you need to have some findings of the reason for the negative recommendation.
Well, I'll move you forward a positive recommendation to the county commission for the Brown rezone application number 24.020, changing 8.18 acres from RR5 to RR1, and amending the future land use map for a split designation of Rance Residential 5 to Rural Residential 1 and to Rural Residential 1 completely, based on the findings listed in the staff report dated May 9, 2022.
Okay, I have a motion by Member Bishop. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
And a second by Member Little. Any discussion on this motion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, and any opposed?
Nay.
Did you get that? We have the three, Member Wilson, Member Little, and Member Bishop for, Member Bass opposed. Thank you.
Before we go on to the next one, if anybody in the audience would like to discuss further about how these meetings are run or how they can get more notification, they are welcome to come into my office. I work Monday through Thursday, 7 to 5. I don't take a lunch, and I'm willing to talk to them about how they can sign up on the state website to get the packet and the agenda, so they have more information than what just comes in letter form. I can also discuss with them kind of how these meetings are run, and we can go from there. That might help to avoid any additional outbursts in the future.
And the packet is available online on the county website that
Yep.
has all this information that we are looking at right now.
Not only that, but you can register on the state notice board and get noticed of any public meeting or public hearing that
Get the agenda notices.
and get
yeah.
the agenda notices there. We used to post the packet there as well. I don't know if we still do that.
I think it's just the agenda. Okay, thank you. Okay, move on. We need to, again, postpone the sign code text amendment to our May 23rd meeting.
Madam Chair, I move to postpone definitely item number 13 to.
Please
May-
not indefinitely.
Definitely.
Oh, please not indefinitely.
I move to postpone definitely item number 13 to May 23, 2024.
Thank you.
Okay, a motion by Member Bass. I have a second.
I'll second.
Second by Member Wilson. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. The next item is the Planning Commission text amendment revision. Agenda item number 14.
Thank you. Approximately 2 months ago, or 6 weeks ago, approximately, the time is just kind of bleeding together. The County Commission voted to approve changes to the makeup of the Planning Commission and how it would be organized. After that, there were residents who filed a referendum. After the referendum was filed, and after several meetings where it was pointed out that nobody who was a signatory on the referendum ever came in or called or emailed any of the county commissioners to express their concerns. One individual who was a signatory, Mr. Roland Haslam, met with Mike Newton, who's the county commissioner chair. The county commissioner chair and Mr. Haslam talked about a couple things that, if those things were clarified and put into the code as revisions and clarifications, that the referendum would be removed. As such, the changes that are proposed, that are before you tonight for a recommendation, are those changes that were requested and discussed between Mr. Newton and Mr. Haslam. Mr. Haslam went to the other signatories and got their approval as well to move forward. So with that, we are providing clarification. The changes are in the red. It is designating that 5 of the members shall be appointed from the 5 areas listed there: Mountain Green, Peterson Enterprise, Stoddard Melton, Croydon, Round Valley, and Ridgeville, Porterville. And then we are removing the statement under compensation that if planning commissioners are consistently late and do not provide excuse or notify us of the tardiness, that they would not receive their $100 compensation. That was put in there because we were having issues with tardiness of certain members, which did not stop. So that was an attempt to try to fix that going forward professionally, sending staff or the planning commission chair notice that you will be tardy or late or that you will not be attend is recommended.
Can you see the next page?
Can you go to the next page, Mikkel?
Yeah, so the red that's being crossed out, it just removes that. So those are the only two changes that are taking place. Staff is recommending approval of the revisions as they were forwarded to us by the county commission, and I can answer any questions you may have.
So 2 at large, 5 areas.
Yes, so there's still going to be 2 at large. The planning commission will be 7 members, and then the other 5 members, one county commissioner will appoint or nominate 1 member from those areas, and then they will be appointed from those areas. Mr. Bishop was the appointment of Robert McConnell for the the Mountain Green area. He was nominated and appointed. Yeah.
Any questions or? Oh.
Well, we haven't gotten you your
Bonus.
packet. You're so new.
What a luck.
You can buy a
Your lucky
McDonald's.
day.
We'll deal with that. Yeah.
Yeah, you'll officially become a county employee.
Oh, no, taxes.
Yep. They withhold taxes.
I'm pretty sure we tax you anyway.
So
So was the determination on my end of things? Did they want me to stay here?
So the way it'll work going forward, all the planning commissioners that are currently seated will need to fill out an application, and then the county commissioners will select. And all of you are encouraged to fill out those applications. But given some things that have happened in the past, the county commission felt that reorganization and kind of switching it up a little bit with how it's organized would be beneficial going forward.
So it's up to you. If you'd like to stay on, then you can submit an application.
All right, sounds good. Thank you.
And I guess they'll take the applications
Starting right now.
even though they haven't approved this yet.
Well, the other is still live and active unless the referendum provides the signatures. So as soon as they submit it with signatures, then it puts the text on hold. This will fix it, but please provide your applications now going forward, because according to what was previously adopted, we need a full planning commission put in place by the first meeting in June. There might be some wiggle room in there given it was first meeting in June.
Okay.
We are seeking an at-large position right now. It is posted on the county website. And the commission has asked that anyone that has currently applied or previously applied since our last 2 postings, which I have emailed those people tonight, and then anyone subsequent to that, that they come to the work session at 4 p.m. on the commission meeting May 21st to give their 3-minute spiel on why they want to be on the planning commission. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Needs to be open to a public hearing as well.
Move we go to public hearing for item number 14.
Okay, a motion by Member Bass to go to public hearing. Is there a second?
Second.
A second by Member Little. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. We're now in public hearing for the Planning Commission text amendment revision.
Move we go to public hearing.
Motion by Member Bass to go to public hearing.
Second.
A second by Member Little.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Madam Chair, what are we for approving? Are we for, oh,
You'll be forwarding either a recommendation of approval or recommendation of denial.
well, the motions, I move we forward that's not what the motion says, but that's what we're doing, I guess. I guess, if we're done talking about it?
Yeah, we're done. Yeah, I'm ready for a motion. So there's,
I move we forward a positive recommendation for item number 14, the revision to the Morgan County Code 511.028 for the Planning Commission.
okay. I have a motion by Member Bast for a positive recommendation. Do I have a second?
Second.
And a second by Member Bishop. Any discussion on this motion? All in favor? Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Okay, now we need a motion, we need to have another postponement of the started area plan.
Madam Chair, I move that we postpone definitely item number 15 to May 23rd, 2024.
Motion by Member Bass to postpone the started area plan to our next meeting. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Member Little. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Now we're on to staff questions and business, and I know Haley had a question about some maps.
Yeah, we had included maps on our area plan, but we don't have like a full map. And the map that was provided in the old area plan is horrible. So when that comes back on the 24th, can we have a more clear map of the actual Stoddard area? Stoddard and North Morgan.
I attached what you sent me.
Right, and I didn't realize that there wasn't like an actual full map. So how do we provide the correct map of our area?
Better resolution.
Well, it's like scribbled on. It's not about resolution. It's
I didn't scribble on it.
no. It was the one that was
So
originally.
you know.
This
was-
is it. Can you see that?
Looks like the ski resort.
That's the map that was included. So
Oh,
yeah,
Can you take that for action to get a good map?
I can look to see what we have in our records and see if I can provide it.
so if,
or like, do we have addresses of where our area meets up?
you should in your, the existing area plan would describe, and that's online.
Okay, I'll work to get a better and a full area plan map for Stoddard and North Morgan.
Okay.
Speaking of which, I heard that they might be annexing part of the North Morgan area,
They already have.
so it's not in our. So
From
it's
Artie and
not in
Christensen, that road
right.
to Morgan has been annexed.
So that's not going to be in our area because it was previously.
Right.
Yeah, that's the annexation I was talking about.
You just shrunk even more. So, okay, any other, do you have any business, Josh?
Not tonight. I don't have any.
Do you have any questions for staff?
I guess I've heard a couple discussions before about a different zone, something between RR1 and RR5. Has anyone else talked about that to you?
I've heard the county commission mention it a couple times while we've had discussions about rezonings. It's just, there's been no direction to bring anything forward.
What have you seen? Have you seen anything in other areas?
In other places I've worked,
Yeah.
yeah, when I worked in Chino Valley, they had a 1 acre, 1.5 acre, 2 acre, 2.5 acre, 5 acre, and then 36 acre. So they had a whole range of zones that were meant for the rural lifestyle. Here it just jumps from 1 to 5. I would recommend some additional to catch the middle.
Snow Basin. Snow Basin has a A3 agriculture, 3 acres.
Yeah. That must be on Weber County side.
Yeah, I don't remember that. I know the only thing we have is the Snow Basin Development Agreement, and it doesn't get down to specific acreages. If I remember correctly, it talks about low density, medium high density, things like that. I can look at it further. It's been a while since I've looked at it.
Yeah, I think a zone in between would be good.
I don't know, would that be another tool maybe that we don't want to give them?
Along Morgan Valley Drive, yes.
Chino Valley's problem, though, was they went from 1 acre and then it dropped all the way down to 7,000 square feet.
Oh.
So there wasn't anything in between. Yeah. They had the opposite problem. If I remember correctly.
So,
That's the only thing I was curious about. You probably don't know why, but why that other guy was denied zoning completely.
I have no clue. And to deny them zoning when their property is zoned A20 and then to give them a PRUD, I don't even know if he has a PRUD. I don't know. I don't know anything about it. If he wants to come in and talk to me, I'm willing to look at his property and do some research for him, but I really don't know why they would require that.
Yeah.
Everyone has a right to apply for rezoning. Whether it's approved or not, that's obviously up to your recommendation and the county commission final decision. But I can't speak to that. Seems kind of weird.
okay.
Madam Chair, if I may. The county is going to be looking at creating a short-term rental policy as well as a camping policy, overnight camping. Specifically, the intent is for our fairgrounds so that if people come for like a rodeo, they can overnight in their camper. So if you, Planning Commission, have any input that you'd like in that, if you would email that to me while we're working on that draft, and obviously it'll come before you, and it's once we've completed it, but I'd love your input beforehand. So, thank you.
Okay. Thank you. There are no other questions or business. Ready for motion to approve the minutes. Putting all the
So moved.
corrections in. Motion by Member Bass to approve minutes.
A second.
A second by Member Little. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
So moved.
Second.
Motion to adjourn and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.